Hello, everyone. This is the financial statement analysis presentation of Amazon, presented by Angela Colleen, Joshua Elder, and Nick DeLucy. As most of you may know, Amazon was founded in 1994 by Jeff Bezos. They've grown a lot over the last 20 years with corporate offices around the world, but their principal corporate offices are located in Seattle, Washington. Amazon's initial public offering was in May of 1997. Their common stock is listed on the NASDAQ Global Select Market as capital AMZN. Amazon is a diversified retail corporation. They specialize in merchandise, content, and electronic devices. As of the end of 2019, Amazon employed 798,000 employees. Amazon operates through three segments: North America, International, and Amazon Web Services, known as AWS. Amazon serves 190 countries, companies, and governments around the world with cloud computing infrastructure through Amazon Web Services. They are also a service provider. Amazon Prime paid membership program provides streaming video and TV shows as mentioned previously, but also free shipping to those utilizing the Amazon.com website. Amazon's mission statement is pretty straightforward. They claim that they seek to be Earth's most customer-centric company. Amazon creates value by making the lowest prices possible. This is done by leveraging technology in such a way that they do not have to stock inventory of any kind. While other stores suffer cost burdens of stocking inventory, Amazon can afford to undercut the competition. They pride themselves on being able to offer 1 or 2 day delivery and even same-day delivery in some markets. Amazon is also able to offer a vast selection of products because of their third-party marketplace. Combined, these attributes make Amazon scalable. Amazon can easily enter another country and start selling products. Very little groundwork has to be done in order to accomplish this. This is the reason that Amazon went from being an American company to becoming multinational so very soon. This business model is also preferred by investors who have pumped in billions of dollars for Amazon to beat its competition with its deep pockets. Amazon's primary customers are buyers, sellers, and businesses and developers that utilize Amazon Web Services. They bring in revenue through a variety of streams. The primary source of revenue for Amazon is the commissions and fees that they obtain by making borrowers and sellers meet on Amazon.com. They don't sell a lot of stuff on their own. They just provide a marketplace that guarantees a standardized experience for both the buyers and the sellers. Amazon Go is also a newer concept that has opened brick and mortar stores in some marketplaces. They are very similar to grocery stores. Third-party seller services revenues mainly include commissions on transactions and fulfillment fees, shipping fees, and then fees that are charged on other third-party seller services that are offered. Amazon also creates revenue in advertising, which is generated from sales of advertising services and sales related to other offerings such as co-branded credit card agreements. Amazon has also derived a huge chunk of revenue from its affiliate programs. They provide affiliates with stores within their sites. They can also then charge a larger commission on those sales. Amazon sells advertising space on its website as well. The Amazon site is one of the most visited pages in any region, so sellers can expect to boost their sales by advertising on Amazon.com. Amazon makes a huge chunk of money from the Kindle marketplace as well. Kindles can be used to read books in electronic format. Because of them, Amazon has a 75% market share in the ebooks market. Amazon gets close to about 70% of the revenue that it generates by selling ebooks on Kindle. They have also developed a subscription-based business model via Amazon Prime. For a fixed subscription, users get 2 benefits. Firstly, they can stream movies and other video content via the internet. Secondly, Amazon Prime members are entitled to lightning-fast delivery of the products that they purchase from Amazon. Assessing the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to Amazon help to develop a more full awareness of all the factors that are involved in their business decision-making. Amazon's direct-to-consumer model and their supply chain and distribution network are 2 of their core strengths. Information technology is also a core competency for Amazon. They use and source their technology to other businesses. In fact, Amazon Web Services is a leader in renting computing power to other companies. Amazon's also a leader in the cloud business, which many understand when they utilize email and document storage. Amazon's cost leadership in the marketplace is enabled by their third-party sales. Amazon also has a huge customer retention rate. Amazon Prime memberships have a 93% retention rate after the first year and a 98% retention rate after the second year. Amazon's high attrition rate is a known weakness. This often garners negative publicity. They employed approximately 798,000 full-time and part-time employees in 2019, but their employment levels fluctuate due to seasonal factors that affect their business. They utilize a mix of independent contractors, temporary personnel, and part-time employees to supplement their workforce. Because of this, they have issues with work councils, employee representation, and sometimes unions in countries outside of the United States. Opportunities for growth for Amazon include human resources for all of the reasons just mentioned. Amazon also has opportunities in the mergers and acquisitions department. Amazon has bought almost 30 companies in 30 years. They partner to offer their e-commerce services to make other companies better at doing online business. Sometimes this may just be providing the service, but other times it combines products. They've done this with Toys R Us in the past. Expansion is a viable option in which Amazon can gain the power of the e-commerce market. Threats to Amazon include competition, like Walmart. Walmart's e-commerce sales grew by 40% last year. Government regulation is also a perceived threat of Amazon. Amazon is concerned with corporate tax codes, and they believe that some of the tax codes do not incentivize investment in the economy and then job creation. Cybersecurity is also an issue for Amazon. Amazon owns trademarks, service marks, copyrights, patents, domain names, and trade secrets, along with their proprietary technologies. They also own the information of a lot of their customers. Ensuring that this information and that their intellectual property remains safe is key for Amazon. This also goes into imitation as a threat to Amazon.
Taking a look at Amazon's common size income statement, we can see that Amazon's largest expense is cost of sales. Amazon's cost of sales primarily consists of the purchase price of consumer products, inbound and outbound shipping costs, which include costs related to sortation and delivery centers. This expense is such a high percent of Amazon's net sales because Amazon is the primary transporter of their goods to the consumer. The company incurs high shipping costs due to its recent expansion to next day delivery on a large assortment of its products. These increased costs are attributed to increased transportation costs as the company adds more routes and drivers, as well as the costs associated with transitioning its inventory to be closer to customers. The company is working to create more efficiency in this area, however. We can see this if we take a look at the trend of cost of sales. Cost of sales as a percent of net sales has decreased each year since 2017, despite the fact that its total dollar amount has actually increased in those same years. Amazon also forgoes a lot of shipping revenue due to its offer of free shipping to Amazon Prime members, thus decreasing its total revenue. According to Amazon's common size balance sheet, the company's largest asset is property and equipment net. Amazon states that its property includes buildings and land that the company owns, along with property they have acquired under build-to-suit lease arrangements. Equipment includes assets such as servers and networking equipment, heavy equipment, and other fulfillment equipment. Amazon continues to invest in business growth, which attributes to its property and equipment. For example, $13.7 billion in finance leases, which Amazon includes under property and equipment, were acquired in 2019. These were primarily due to investments in equipment to support the growth of its Amazon Web Services sector. In order to gain a better understanding of Amazon's financial state, we calculated various financial ratios and looked at how they compared to previous years. The first ratio we looked at was Amazon's return on equity, or ROE. ROE is one of the most commonly used financial ratios by both managers and investors alike, and is a measure of how profitable a shareholder's investment is in Amazon. As we can see, Amazon's ROE has fluctuated over the past 3 years. In order to gain a better understanding of Amazon's ROE, we broke it down into its component parts, return on assets and financial leverage. As financial leverage has been decreasing in the past 3 years, we attribute the trend of ROE to the variation of ROA. The reason why ROA is increased significantly in 2018 is due to the increase of profit margin, as profit margin jumps from 1.7% to 4.3%, while asset turnover decreases from 1.7 to 1.6 from 2017 to 2018. Amazon successfully decreases cost of sales from 62.9% of sales to 59.8% of sales in 2018, which is the key to improved profit margin. Financial leverage measures the degree to which a company finances its assets with debt versus equity. As we can see on the common size balance sheet, Amazon has worked to increase its total stockholders' equity as a percentage of total assets and decrease its total debt as a percentage of total assets. As assets have increased, the company has taken on less debt than in previous years to finance these assets, instead using equity. We then took an operating focus on ROE by breaking it down into operating return and non-operating return. The large increase of RNOA between 2017 and 2018 was primarily due to a large increase in NOPM thanks to an increase in net sales accompanied by a lowering of operating expenses. The reduction in RNOA in 2019 was partially thanks to an increase in net operating assets due to a change in accounting practices that saw Amazon record operating leases under 12 months as a separate asset account on its balance sheet. This was not recorded as such in years prior. Capitalizing operating leases also adversely affect NOAT. In order to understand how much of Amazon's ROE is attributable to its RNOA, we also looked at its non-operating return. This proved that Amazon's ROE is not helped by its debt financing. Next, we calculated Amazon's cash conversion cycle and its components. Amazon has been able to sell inventories more and more quickly between 2017 and 2019, evidenced by a steady decrease in days inventories outstanding. Amazon can also collect its receivable faster and faster. However, the company has also reduced the amount of days that it takes to pay its suppliers, evidenced by a steadily decreasing days payable outstanding. Most importantly, though, Amazon has maintained a negative cash conversion cycle. This means that Amazon is able to reinvest the cash that it receives from sales before it has to pay its suppliers. This allows Amazon to generate profit from both the sale and from investing cash into growing parts of its business. Finally, we took a look at a few liquidity and solvency ratios. Amazon's current assets can cover current liabilities, and its quick rate assets can cover 80% of current liabilities, showing that Amazon is a very liquid company. Amazon has worked to increase its solvency by becoming less reliant on debt, as well as increasing its use of equity from stockholders to finance its assets. This can be seen in both a decreasing debt-to-equity ratio as well as an increasing times interest earned ratio, which shows that Amazon has had more operating profit available each year to cover its debt obligations. In order to further investigate Amazon's financial standing, we compare the same financial ratios to that of a top competitor, as well as the industry average for retailers. We chose the retail industry because Amazon is the world's largest online retailer. A few accounts that jump out compared to the competition are Amazon's RNOA, NOAT, cash conversion cycle, current ratio, and debt-to-equity ratio. Amazon's RNOA and NOAT stand out against Walmart's because of Amazon's net operating assets compared to Walmart. Amazon maintains a smaller amount of net operating assets compared to Walmart, primarily due to property and equipment account being a smaller percent of its total assets. For both companies, property and equipment is the largest asset account on their balance sheets. However, Walmart's property and equipment accounted for 44.5% of its total assets at the end of 2019, while Amazon's only accounted for 32.3%. Amazon's cash conversion cycle is much lower than that of Walmart's and the industry average. It achieves such a comparatively low cash conversion cycle by delaying its payments to suppliers much longer than the competition. Furthermore, compared to Walmart, Amazon also maintains a lower cost of goods sold, while both companies maintain around the same level of accounts payable. Amazon looks to be more liquid than its competitors when comparing its current ratio to that of Walmart's and the industry average. Amazon's current assets made up 42.8% of its total assets in 2019. Walmart's made up roughly 26.1%. This means that Amazon is holding a greater portion of liquid assets than Walmart. Amazon, however, seems to be less solvent than its competition. We can see this by comparing Amazon's debt-to-equity ratio to that of Walmart and the industry average. Amazon carries both a higher portion of debt and a lower portion of equity than Walmart does. This works to make Amazon less solvent as it relies more on debt financing. However, we do not believe that Amazon's level of debt financing places them in a great amount of risk because Amazon's times interest earned show that Amazon's operating income is 9 times larger than the interest expense.
In order to estimate Amazon's sales growth rate, we broke down their previous sales into their three main segments: North America, International Sales, and Amazon Web Services, or AWS. The sales growth rate in North America peaked in 2018, and we estimated that its forecasted growth rate for 2020 will start out as being 60% of the previous year's growth rate. Then each year after that, we estimated that the growth rate speed will decrease by 10% each year until it hits the industry average for retail sales rate of 4.5%. The international sales growth rate has continuously fallen over the past few years. Sales are not decreasing, but the growth rate is decreasing. For this forecast, we use the same assumptions as the North American sales growth rate assumptions. Amazon Web Services growth rate speed has slowed down over the past few years, and for this forecast, we assumed it to use the same assumptions as the North American and international sales growth, except for we assumed that it would decrease until it hits the cloud industry average of 12.6% rather than the retail sales average of 4.5%. In order to get a more accurate overall sales growth rate forecast, we took the growth rate of each of the three segments and multiplied it by the weight of what each segment is each year. For example, to get the sales growth rate of 2020, we calculated the growth rate of North American sales in 2020 times the weight of North American sales, and then we calculated the growth rate of international sales for 2020 times the weight of international sales, and then we calculated the growth rate of Amazon Web Services sales times the weight of Amazon Web Services sales, and then we added those all together to get the overall average weighted growth rate for 2020. We then did this for each forecasted year. Below you can see our weighted average growth rates for forecasted years 2020 through 2024 and the sales revenue that comes with it. You can also see that our net income growth rate was almost the same as the revenue growth rate, which means that there are no drastic changes in operating expenses or non-operating income or expenses. One thing that was concerning to us was that in 5 years, the revenue increased by nearly $120 billion, but their net income only increased by about $5.5 billion. However, after doing some research on this, we realized that this is a normal thing for Amazon, as their revenues have always been high and their net incomes have been relatively low. This is because they heavily invest in technology and growth opportunities for their future. They've also been facing increased shipping costs for customers because one of their key growth drivers is having cheap and fast shipping speeds, which means that as Amazon speeds up their shipping times, they have to pay more for each customer. As you can see in the table, Amazon's overall growth rate is slowing in general, and it starts to slowly increase again in 2023 and 2024. Because the Amazon Web Services segment is continuously gaining weight, and its growth rate by this time is roughly 3 times the growth rate of the North American or international sales segments, because the North American and international segments have declined to the industry average rate of 4.5% by this time, and the Amazon Web Services growth rate has declined to its industry average rate of 12.6%. We predict that the industry average growth rate of cloud services, which AWS is in, will eventually decline below 12.6%, but we don't know when this will be.
To wrap things up, there are a few important takeaways from this analysis. To start, Amazon's presence in many different industries is a positive point as it helps the company hedge against risk. Also, Amazon is committed to investing in the future growth of the company. We can see this through its investments in expanding Amazon Web Services, expanding to one-day shipping to attract more members to Prime, and investing to expand its fulfillment center capacity to maintain sales growth, and its $13.7 billion acquisition of Whole Foods in 2017. These are only a few examples of Amazon's commitment to growth. Furthermore, as online retail grows, so does the competition that Amazon will face. Amazon is currently the world's largest online retailer, but more and more traditional retailers, such as Walmart and Target, are shifting to online sales. Also, the competition in web services and subscription services is growing, and Amazon will have to continue to find ways to stay competitive in these areas. Lastly, we believe that Amazon won't meet analyst expectations for the next 5 years. According to Morningstar Equity Analyst Report on Amazon, they expect the company's full year revenue growth for 2020 to be around 21%. Furthermore, they expect average annual revenue growth to be around 15% for the next 5 years ending in 2024. They attribute this growth to contribution from physical retail formats, greater engagement among Amazon Prime members, and increased third-party sales from its suppliers, digital content sales, international expansion, and nascent growth channels like advertising and technology licensing. We believe that these estimates are too aggressive, considering sales growth between 2008 and 2019 dropped by 10% from that of 2017 to 2018. We believe that the average growth rate of Amazon's various business sectors will reduce to their respective industry average growth rates over the next 5 years, thus lowering our expectations for Amazon compared to Morningstar's analysis.